we'll be talking about responsible AI. So as much as we have like amazing tools and amazing products like Gemini to build with as developers, we also need to look at the aspect of building boldly and responsibly. And this is a phrase that I used that was used by Sundar Pichai when he was giving his IO keynote last year. I don't know what the keynote will look like this year, but you're all psyched up for it. So as we work towards building boldly and responsibly with all the tools that have been provided by the Google team and the Google AI team, we also are supposed to look on how are we going to build this product to solve the problems that we have always wanted to solve, because the goal is to help us solve problems that we have in the different in what we are building as developers. So I'll be talking about responsible AI development with Vertex AI, Vertex AI Gemini API, and how we can mitigate risks and ensure safety. So just a quick introduction. I am a GitHub Campus expert, and we are two GitHub Campus experts in the call today, and all of us are speakers. So I think you'll be hearing from one other campus expert who will be coming later on doing a session. So I'm also a Google Developer Students Club lead. I lead my student community at Kabarak University. I'm very passionate about sharing my knowledge like I'm doing today. I also organize Luna Hacks, which is like a, a whole day hackathon for a 24-hour hackathon that happens in the Rift Valley region of Kenya. I also volunteer with the Open Source Community Africa. I love open source. If I'm not speaking about responsible AI or machine learning, you'll get me talking about open source. I do write technical articles, just like the one Yara is from sharing, and I write for She Code Africa Nairobi and also PyLadies Ghana. If I'm not on stage speaking or I'm not writing code, I do skate and swim. So let's go right into what I'll be talking about today. Just to confirm, this session is 45 minutes, right, Luis?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, sure. So for the 45 minutes that I'll be speaking, I'll talk about the motivation for responsible AI, and then we'll understand the basics of what we'll be talking about today. And then we'll be seeing how, as developers, we can build boldly and responsibly using Gemini. And then I will walk you through a quick demo. I mean, everyone here is looking forward to seeing a demo. And then we'll have a quick Q&A session, and then we'll talk about the next steps. So in the past, we've seen many failures, many AI failures in the news. Some of them have hit home close, and some of them we've just seen them in the news. So you have Amazon that scraps their sexist AI recruitment tool. Facebook once apologized because they labeled Black people as primates and not as humans. And then you also have Stanford researchers that found out automated speech recognition is more likely to misinterpret Black speakers. And most recently, Twitter, X, which is was formerly known as Twitter, had to scrap one of their innovation, which was like an auto zoom innovation, since it was zooming in better for white photos that had white individuals compared to photos that had black individuals. So these are the things we are talking about when we are talking about building responsibly. We need to understand that what you're building is going to be used by humans and not users. We need to have the perspective of this is someone who is longing for this product. My product is going to be used by someone who is from the francophone side of Africa. My product is going to be used by someone who speaks Spanish and stays in Africa. So we need to have all that into consideration. So how do I do that? So responsible AI has four major aspects. We have the aspect of explainable AI. So how am I going to? Can you explain why this Gemini model gave you this response? Are you able to do that? To do that, and then we also have the fairness aspect. So is your model fair enough to different people? Like I said, I personally come from Kenya, so I don't speak French, but I have folks who come from the francophone side of Africa and they speak French, and we have folks who come from the South Africa side, they speak Zulu and Xhosa. So when you're building this model for all those people, how am I going to make sure that all of these people use this product, and they don't feel like I'm unfair to them? And then you have the privacy aspect. So I want to make sure that as these users give me their input? How am I going to store the data? How am I going to ensure the privacy of the users? And then you have the security aspect of everything. So there are these four aspects that we need to look at when you're building our Gemini models and our Gemini products. We're building products using Gemini, and all of these have been inspired by the past histories and examples that we've had. So maybe you've been wondering, or you've ever wondered, why a mail goes to spam, or why Spotify or Apple Music gives you this recommendation, and why Netflix gives you this movie recommendation. Have you paused to ask yourself, okay, why did it do this way? Why did this model give me this response? Why, when someone is using my product, let's say I use Gemini to build an app that helps focus from the North Africa region and helps mitigate female genital mutilation. So when a lady prompts it from that side, can you explain why it gives them response, let's say in the Maasai language or in a different language? So when you're talking about responsible AI, I want us to base our discussion today on who is being harmed. And yeah, as I'm proceeding with the talk and you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat section, or you can leave them in the Q&A section of the call. So I want us to base our conversation today on who is being harmed compared to what the harm is. So the term bias is often thrown around like a catch-all term that describes the unfair behavior of an algorithm or of the model that you use. So I want us in this talk, and as I proceed with my talk, I want us to focus our discussion on who is negatively impacted or harmed by these AI systems. Once we start focusing on who is being harmed, we can better design our product and our fairness interventions in and with them, rather than just purely for them or just using purely technical things, or just say, oh, I'm going to tweak it this way and I'm going to tweak it that way. Let's look at who is being harmed. When, let's say, someone is denied medical access by my app that uses Gemini, this means that maybe they're going to lose their life, God forbid. Or let's say someone is denied a loan by an app I built for a specific fintech or a specific startup, and then now their son is not going to be able to go to school because that loan was supposed to cater for school fees. So all these are the different things that we need to look at. So we have ProPublica's analysis of the Compass tool that found that black defendants were far more likely than white defendants to be judged and be at a higher risk of recidivism. So all these are things that have happened and through discriminatory algorithms. And that's why we are talking about it today. And I feel like I'm so lucky because this is going to be the basis of our conversation, while other speakers are moving on with other talks. As we talk about how you can build different stuff, we'll still be able to also put them in check, like how responsible is this. So we've even had authorities like in they discriminate algorithm through discriminatory algorithms in fraud, and even all these examples that I'm sharing. And with this, we even people even decide to come up with an AI incident database where if maybe something is out of something is an AI has harmed or has given a bad review or something that you an AI that you've used, you are able to report that. We have what we call the AI incident database. I think I'll share the slides. They have the links to everything, and you'll be able to also go and check it out. So before we go into the demo, I want us to understand the different types of harms that as developers, while we use Gemini and while we build, these are the types of harms that we pose to our users and those who are going to use the product we build with Gemini. So we have what we call harms of allocation. So when I'm building a product using the Gemini models, I can I can maybe implicitly include harms of allocation in my product. And allocation harms occur when an AI system allocates resources or opportunities in a way that negatively impacts people's lives. Like maybe when one is being denied a credit loan, that it affects your credit score and lowers your likelihood of receiving a loan again. An example of harms of allocation is when an Amazon AI recruiting tool was showing bias against women. Mhm. And then you have quality of service harms. So quality of service harms occur when an AI system performs worse for one group of people compared to others, even when no opportunities are withheld. So when an AI model performs worse to francophone folks and better for non-francophone folks in Africa, even if no opportunities are withheld. That is a quality of service harms, because that means folks who speak French in Africa will not be able to use your product in a way that they feel satisfied with, or in a way that they feel like, oh, this product really, even if their services are quality, but they feel like they are not well served by it, that's still a quality of service harm. So there's a whole paper about this. It's called the Gender Shaped Intersectional Accuracy Disparities in Commercial Gender Classification. I've also linked it here. I'll share the slides and maybe you can check that out. Then, one thing to note with the quality of service harms is with the rise of AI as a service product, these types of harms are becoming increasingly more studied. AI as a service product is like we now have like Grammarly AI, we have all those products that now include AI in their services. It means that we now have more quality of service harms. And then you have representational harms. These occur when an AI system stereotypes, denigrates, or promotes antagonistic representation of its users. So, compared to other types of fairness related harms, representational harms are often harder to quantify. It's really hard to quantify that your product that you build with Gemini has representational harms. And that is where responsible AI engineers come in to help you in your organization or when you're building a product to solve this. And then what my the speaker that came before me, he talked about using Gemini with NLP and all that. So when you're building NLP products, it is very frequent for these products to have representational harms because they're dealing more with text and all that. We can see an example here, which was like Facebook that labeled Africans as gorillas, and I think they were at a graduation party or something, and it labeled them as gorillas instead of humans, which was like so degrading. And as we move on now, I want us to understand once you're talking about harms, harms are not disjoint. There are plenty of other types of fairness related harms besides the three that I covered. This is a very broad topic when you start talking about responsible AI and all that. Some domains, such as natural language generation, this an example of it is like when someone is using Alexa, or when you're using Hello Google, or you're using Siri. For example, let me give you an example to help you understand this concept better. So let's say me or Luis, we go and prompt, let's say Alexa, and we say, hey Alexa, why did Santa not come for Christmas? Let's say I'm just questioning, maybe I didn't get any gift or something. And then Santa tells me that Santa didn't come because Santa was killed and his body is currently lying in a pool of blood. Then someone, let's say my sibling who is, let's say, below 9 years old or 10 years old, goes to Alexa and Alexa gives them the same response. Someone like me who I'm like over 18, getting that response that Santa didn't able to come because he was killed and is lying in a pool of blood, and someone who is underage, let's say someone who is like 10 years, 15 years old, do you think Alexa was right? Do you think Alexa was fair in providing us those responses between me and, let's say, my sibling who is 10 years old, telling my sibling that Fanta is lying in a pool of blood? So those are the things that we look at, and it's really tricky when we are sorting out the different harms. So, and a single system or a single product that you build with Gemini can exhibit multiple fairness harms, and a single person can be harmed different way by a given AI system. That's why I said when we focus on who is being impacted, we will now be able to get the role of intersectional identities in what you are solving in or what you are looking in to make our product to make our product more responsible and to build when we look at the users as humans and not just users who are going to use our product. So I feel like I've talked for the longest time, but I now want us to go to the demo. I've really talked and talked, and they're like, okay, when are you finishing all this talk? Like I just want to be done with this. So, but as we go there, let me just check the chat section for any questions before I proceed.
Uh,
So,
I think
yes.
nobody has question.
Okay, let me just
Oh yes,
check it.
you have one question.
Okay. Someone from
Vinny say
Vinny.
that Can we use the Java web GPU on CPU or normal laptops?
Mhm. Okay. So can we use media pipe, web GPU on CPU or normal laptops? So my fellow GitHub campus expert, that is Kartiki, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing their name correctly, will be specifically talking about, I think, media pipe, but I'll go ahead and also answer a few parts of this. So I've used media pipe before and I've used it on my own laptop. So if you're asking if I can use, you can use the Gemini models on media pipe, I believe yes, you can. I think it was the update was released recently, but I think we have a speaker that will be diving deep into this. And during that session, maybe you will also be able to get more details about the same. But feel free to shoot me maybe if there's a specific part that you want. Feel free to shoot the question, and I'll be sure to check it out. So for now, let me share this tab. Huh. So yeah, I think you should be seeing my collab tab now, right?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
okay, okay. Thank you so much. So I feel like let's move on. So the first thing, as okay, my session is not more about introducing you to Gemini and introducing you to how to use Gemini and all that. I think that was already covered with the first speaker. So I'll be diving right into building responsibly with Gemini. So here we're just importing the libraries. Since you're going to be using Vertex AI, just from Vertex AI generative models, we import all the important libraries that we need, and then we're going to load our Gemini 1.0 Pro model, which we'll be going to use to generate the text and how we can test them out. So we are going to generate some text and we are going to show some safety ratings. So now let me give a use case. Let's say, for example, I'm building an app to help educate folks in the Horn of Africa about the dangers of female genital mutilation. And maybe let's say when someone maybe is prompting my my product, they can learn more about why is it not good to still do female genital mutilation in this era, the dangers that it poses, and how maybe you can help in the fight against female genital mutilation, resources from the UN, and so on and so forth. So this will be like generation of text back and forth, more of like NLP. So first of all, I'll call my Gemini API and tell it, okay, can you say three nice things about me? Or let's say this is a model about someone who is not feeling well mentally, and they just prompt, can you say three nice things about me? And Gemini responds here and tells me, so one is you're thoughtful and compassionate. The other one is you have a great sense of humor, and the third one is you are loyal and understanding. And then the fourth one is you always make me laugh. And you always make me laugh. Is you are loyal and a supportive friend. So all that calm me down. But now we have what we call safety rating in how safe your responses are. So let's look at the safety how safe are the responses. So you can see here from the nice prompt that I earlier used. And for every response, I'm just printing the response and then the safety rate person. Now I'll go down here and I'll check that the safety rating is like I'll be in that way. And then do I have any harassment? harassment content in the ones that have been shared. It's also negligible, meaning it's not there. And then, do I have a category of sexually explicit content? Yes. So when I've explained all that, so let me now go to the next part. So I said I will show you. Uh-huh. Okay, just give me a minute. I think I dropped off. Let me just check. Mm. Hello, can you hear me now? Hello,
Uh,
can you hear me now?
yes, yes, now, yes.
Okay. Is my screen still visible?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Uh, Oh, okay. Okay, sorry about that. Let me just join in. I think it kicked me out. Oh, so sorry about that.
Oh, no worry. It's okay now.
So let me just, you can hear me now?
Yes, yes,
Okay. Let me just share my screen. I'm so sorry about that. Mhm. I think my screen should be visible now, right?
yes, yes,
Okay. Okay, great. So we were at the part where I was explaining the different categories of and probabilities and the safety ratings that we have, right? I hope that's the part where you lost me. If someone can confirm, I don't want to leave anyone behind. Uh, Maybe Luis, are you able to confirm that? So this is where it dropped off.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, sure. So now we have the different categories of safety ratings and their probabilities in the text that maybe the Gemini has provided to you. So the first category is hate speech, which is like harm category hate speech. And then this typically contains maybe hate speech to a specific category of people or a specific group of people. And then you have dangerous content. This can be content around violent extremism or content that promotes terrorism, which we don't want in our product. And then you have content around harassment. This maybe can be bullying or where someone is being harassed online, which you also don't want in a product. And then you also have sexually explicit statements, which statements containing sexually explicit content. And then the probabilities of this is negligible. If the model gives you negligible, it means the content has a negligible probability of being unsafe. If it's low, it means that the content has a low probability of being unsafe. If it's medium, it means that the content has a medium probability of being unsafe. But if it's high, you definitely need to be concerned since this is a very high probability that something is unsafe. So let's try a prompt that might trigger one of these categories. So the first time you remember my prompt was like, can you give me five good things about myself or three good things about myself? But right now, let's say write a list of five disrespectful things I might say to the universe after stubbing my toe in the dark. Let's say when I hit my toe in the dark. So let's see some of the five disrespectful things that Gemini thinks I can say. So the first one is, are you kidding me, universe? And then you couldn't give me a little warning. And then, well, that's just so we have all this. Let me just scroll so that you're able to see them clearly. Uh, mhm. Yeah, so let me come here. Just give me, yeah, there, so that you're all able to see. And then I'm starting to think you have it out for me. What did I ever do to you? Thanks for nothing. So these are the statements that Gemini thinks I might say when I get my toe nail injured in the dark. So let's see now the category of safety that is also comes with this, and also the probability of it. So the first one, it says that uh, the category is hate speech. Things that maybe, do you think that I have any form of hate speech in this statement? It says negligible, and I said negligible is like it doesn't even exist. Then category the in the dangerous content category, it means that it also says negligible, and then in the harassment category, it also says low. So here now we need to be concerned. So some of these statements might mean that it's it can be like bullying or something to some of our, it can sound like bullying to some of our users. And then we have a category sexually explicit, it's negligible. So we might not be able to be concerned that much about it. So I hope now the sense of categories and probabilities of this token of the safety ratings is well understood up to that point. So now let's look at blocked responses. So if the response is blocked, you will see the final candidate includes blocked true. So if you want to block some content, let's say you think that you are building an app and there are some statements that might be really okay for Kenyans or people folks who are in the East African region, but these statements might really be offensive to folks who come from the West Africa region, and they might find them very offensive. So you want to block this content. You don't want folks from the West Africa region to see this, but you want folks who are from the East African side. They're okay with seeing that content since it's not really offensive to them. So there is also that you can also block responses. So let's say a rude prompt is, let's say, when I five rude things I might say when I start this and this, and then when the rude responses are generated, I can come here and I can say that these contents, since they contain some speech that I think is not good, I am going to block them to my users. And what I will get is I'll get that this content is blocked or this content cannot be shown to the user. Then when you're building an app, as I said, or when you're using Gemini to build a product, you are the developer, you run the show. So you're the one who defines threshold for these safety ratings that I'm sharing here. As I said, let's say when you're building an app for sex education, you might have some sexually explicit content being shared with the users, since that is what you're trying to do. And maybe when you're building an app, you also need to understand your user base. So maybe are these statements okay for folks who are coming from India, or are these statements okay for folks who are from the West Africa region or from the South Africa region? So you can define thresholds, and you might want to adjust the default safety filter threshold depending on your business policies and your use case as a developer. So the Vertex AI Gemini API provides a way to pass in a threshold for each category. This list is the possible threshold labels. So block only high. So you only block this content when there's a high probability of unsafe content that has been detected, and then block medium and above. So block when medium or high probability content is detected, and then block low and above, block when low, medium, or high probability of unsafe content is detected, and then block none. For example, if I'm building a text ed application, then I can say that, oh, I can block none of the category of sexually explicit content, since my app is supposed to help that. That is what it's built for, to help educate more people about the same. So you always show regardless of probability of unsafe content. So I'm just checking the time. And then here
Ryan,
below are some of the, yes.
messages suggest you to collapse the table of contents to see the entire code.
Is that better now?
Message is okay. Yeah, let's continue.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Maslin. So we have the different safety thresholds that we can say. So below are some of the safety thresholds that have been set, the most sensitive thresholds. So we block anything low and above. So this is how you can do it when you're doing. So you can say harm category, and then that category that you want, which is like harassment category, you block this to a threshold of anything low and above, and then you go. Someone is on unmute. Maybe someone has a question. Okay. Okay, I think you're good to go. So maybe when we can now go to the category of hate speech, that one I can also block low and above, and also category of. So let's say now I was building a sexual education app. When it comes here to sexual explicit, I can now say here none. Like when I'm setting this part, I can now say that do not block any of this. And then let's say for also another thing, I'm building an app that will be able to alert the armed forces in my community that there are bandits in my area. So you see, like for that, definitely there's going to be dangerous content moving between us. So I can also come here and say that do not block none of this because this is going to be used by the military in my country or by the military in my community to help prevent banditry, something. So that's how you also set the safety settings to ensure that you are fair to different users and to different people that you are building for. So we can test the threshold here. So when you here we'll use the impolite prompt that we used before, and then you can say that I already blocked. So here I already set that anything low and above is blocked. So once you come here, you can see that you remember that when we run, let me go back to that code. Just give me let me scroll up here. So you remember when we run this code here, the statement, I'm starting to think you have a personal vendetta against me. The in the category of harassment, it was ranked as low. And when I set my settings, I said anything low and above should be blocked. So now when I come here and when I'm testing my category, you'll see that in the one of them here is when I checked blocked, it's true. Like it has been blocked from being seen because it has something between low and above. So that is how you can work with it. So that's pretty much it. I think I'm almost even past time. But let's come back here and let's check in if we have folks that have questions in the chat section. And also I dropped the links to all the resources in the chat section. So I think back to the moderator. Back to you, Luis.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Can someone ask a question, please? Yes,
But
please,
also maybe
Victor,
just
go ahead.
oh yeah.
Okay, so my question is, apart from using Gemini API on Colab, can we use it for other environments or interpreters like VS Code or Python?
Yes. Oh, I feel like I'll just go ahead and answer that. Yes, it's very possible to use it on any other environment. Like as you can see, the first presenter used Kaggle. I used Colab. The first presenter connected Gemini through Kaggle. I used Colab, and I'm sure maybe some of the other presenters are also going to use other IDEs. So the gist here is once you have the API key, you run the show. You are the developer here. If maybe you use this, you want to use Colab, or you have paid for Colab, then yeah, go for it. If have you want to use Kaggle like the way the first speaker did, then yeah, go for it. So yes, you can use it on different aspects. Just once you get the API key, you run the show.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Rico.
Louis, I think there are another question in the chat. Hello, Brian. This is out of topic. Can you use media pipe web GPU on CPU or normal laptops?
Il a déjà répondu, je pense.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. I think I had responded to that question, but if maybe
yeah,
the individual has more wants more clarification, feel free to like shoot the question again. But also maybe what I just want to add on this topic is that the aspect of responsible AI is really broad. Like you see, what we covered today is only safety, and we only talked about fairness. But maybe in my other talks, I've talked about explainability, we have security, and you have privacy. So as you build your product with Gemini, it might be hectic to go around and maybe see, okay, I want to deal with fairness, I want to deal with this, I want to deal with this. So what I would say, build the app and then iterate the process bit by bit. Once you've already built the product, it's out there, learn from what your users are telling you, iterate the process. As you say, the machine learning process is always iterative. We fix, we learn from the prompts that we get and the errors that we get to do better next time. So what I would say is that, yeah.
thank you very much, Brian.